Okay, hi guys, and welcome to another Conversations with God's Great Idea. I'm Mario. I'm going to be your leader of this conversation, and with me I've got some really amazing human beings. But first up, what is Conversations with God's Great Idea? So God's great idea was to make us in His image and likeness. As we get out of the way and let the God in us move, we can be love, we can be power, freedom, and self-expression in life, and we can be who He has for us to be in this world. So, guys, we've been in a conversation, and the conversation has been on the flesh. And let's see actually where I'm going here. The conversation has been on the flesh, and so we know that Paul said he referred to the flesh a lot throughout the Gospels, specifically in the book of Romans and Galatians, but throughout the entire, not the Gospels, but the epistles of Paul. And what we discovered, guys, was, hey, brother. What we discovered was that we are not our flesh. And so what we've realized is that the flesh is an automated machinery that seeks to survive in an evil world. What did Paul say? Paul said, the things that I don't want to do, those are the things I do, and that's how I know it's not me who does them. Now, how did we come up with this? Now, we went through a whole exegesis to get to this place, guys, and if you want to know more about this, we've been doing this 10-week series on the flesh. So 2.5 months we've been on the flesh now, and we're about to conclude this series. Now, there's some things that we really want to know about the flesh. Number one is the flesh is never going away as long as you live. That's important. It comes with this body, so stop fighting its reactions. The reality of the situation is Paul says, he says, how long will I strive with this flesh? How long will I deal with this body? That's what he said. And the reality of the situation is that's what we have to deal with. I got a lot of power when I discovered that, hey, you know what? No matter what I do, the flesh is going to be with me. It's just going to be here. I could fast, I could pray, I could do everything. I can make it weaker or its impact on me weaker, but at the end of the day, it's still there. And as long as I'm in this body, as long as I'm here, I've got to contend with the flesh. That's the reality. Now, number two, the only way to bypass the flesh is to realize that it is not you, that you are not the flesh. Because that's what Paul said. If I am the flesh, then everything that I do, then that's just everything that I am. But Paul says the things that I don't want to do, those are the things I do, and that's how I know that it's not me who does them, right? And number three, when you are in the flesh, you cannot create. You can only react. That's what the flesh does. It reacts. And the power to create only comes from the Spirit of God. So if you want to create something new, if you want to get off that track, you've got to get in the Spirit. It's not going to come in the flesh. No matter what you do, I don't care how smart you are and how able you are in the physical, if you do not get in the Spirit, you will not be creating anything new for yourself. So we had homework, guys, because we've been talking about this, and actually I'm going to go a little bit further here. Because the last conversation we had, we talked about how the flesh has us going in circles. Remember that? And it doesn't want us to transform our lives. It wants us to stay in the status quo. It wants us to stay in the same place. That's what happened to the children of Israel. They wandered 40 years in a desert for a 6-day trip. They were supposed to take 6 days to get to their promised land. How many of you have a promised land? I have a promised land, right? But they wandered so much longer in the wilderness because they were in their flesh the entire time. They were whining and complaining, and they were fearful. They were doing everything but what God told them to do, right? And as a result, they wandered in a desert, in the wilderness. For a 6-day trip took them 40 years, and many of them never even made it. So we were talking about that last week, and the homework for last week was to look at these different areas, to answer 3 questions. Number one, look at areas of your life that you want to transform. They wanted to transform from being slaves to being in the promised land. They wanted to transform from being victims to victors. They wanted to transform from being in the wilderness to their land flowing with milk and honey. That's what they wanted to transform, right? What's the area that you want to transform? You may be in the area of relationships, maybe in the area of finances, maybe in the area of your career. It could be your family. It could be anything. What's that area that you want to have a transformation in? And number two, how will life be for you 5 years from now in that area if things continue the way that they are going? That was the kicker for me. When I asked myself that question, that really was like, whoa, I don't want this. I don't want to be 40 years in the wilderness. I don't want to die with this vision inside of me. I got to do something now, right? And lastly, I wanted you to write it down, write down this future and come ready to share with us what that future looks like. You guys, don't get depressed over it, because we're going to talk about how you get to transform that thing and how you get to move into a new future, because that's what this is all about, isn't it? So who's going to share with me? Oh, awesome. Great. Awesome, bro.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Carlos. Well, I actually it took me a while to actually get this area on paper. So I did get it on paper, and it was the area that I want to transform is my personal confidence, and I want to transform that area of my personal confidence in the sense that I want to trust and believe in myself a little bit more than I do now. How will life be 5 years from now in that area if things continue to go this way? Well, I concluded after giving it a bit of thought that I will most likely have a low self-esteem and miss out on very good opportunities, getting all up in my head about how I think things are going to go and how the outcome is going to be, instead of, just taking the leap and taking the actions that, will actually determine what the outcome will be, and that's what I wrote down, and that's how my future, what I believe my future looks like, and I want to believe in myself more, and not think about the possible results of something when in fact nobody really knows what is going to happen unless you actually take action.
That's good.
Yeah.
So really quickly, so what are you doing in this area of your life that you're working on right now?
Well, right now is actually expanding our community. When I try to when I want to.
Okay, what are you doing in the area that doesn't work? That's what I want to know. For that thing to continue to move forward the way that it's been moving, in the way that you don't want it to move, the undesired way.
Oh, okay. I guess I have a lot of things. I have a lot of really good ideas, and it's that fear and that that thing that stops me from actually getting those ideas out, because I think I might not be good, or it might not be. People may not like it. People may hate it. People may look at me like I'm so sort of a freak or something like that. Um,
So a lot of fear. So
yeah,
you're living in a lot of fear.
a lot of fear. Yeah.
And so what's the result of that? What does life look like as a result of that area?
Probably it's going to look the same as it's looked. Probably it's going to look the same as it has looked for a while, and it's going to continue to go the same way.
What does it look like?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a I'm gonna have a very low self-esteem. I'm gonna be beating myself up all the time, missing opportunities that
There you go.
that could have been
You're
good
not
for
living
me.
your full potential.
Exactly.
That's it. It's like, we sometimes, they have this phrase, call a spade a spade. And sometimes we don't call a spade a spade. And that's why, we don't get to deal with our lives and that area of our lives. It's like, what does life look like when I'm not taking action? It looks like me not going into what I want to do, doing a job that I hate, right? Or not a job that maybe I don't like as much as something I could be doing, me being completely unfulfilled, me not reaching my potential in life, dying with the potential that God has for me inside of me. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That's what it looks like. And we don't get real about stuff. Like the children of Israel, they didn't get real with it. And that's why many of them died. There's Jonathan and I were talking about it just the other day, a couple of days ago, where we were talking about how there was the first group of Israelites that came out of Egypt, they actually died with the vision inside of them. They died never making it to the promised land, even though it was a promise. Because they were never going to give that thing up. They were not going to transform that thing. They died with it. We think that somehow if we don't change the way that we're being in life, that somehow miraculously something's going to shift for us. It's not. It's not. You got to shift it. You got to do something, right, Carlos? That's it. So we got to get real about how we're living, what kind of future we're living into to have what we really want. Who's next?
All right. It's Adam Mack. And the area that I went into work on transforming was it was a relationship with this past girlfriend, right? That I talked about a little bit last week. And basically I've just been trying to like be friends, and too many things keep happening that are familiar to a relationship that makes, it creates like this, like, oh, I want it to be a relationship,
Yeah.
And like I just I got to a point where I just said really bad things, really nasty things, and just I really caught myself like that's not who I wanted to be.
Right.
So I cleaned all that up, apologized, and I created something new, and I had to make the thing that I had been resisting happen forever. And I finally put this 6-year relationship completely to rest, and I told her that I would not be contacting her. And it's been 5 days, and it hurts a lot because it turns out that I never really got out of that relationship.
Wow.
Like months ago, we said, oh, we're out of a relationship. Months ago. I'm talking about like maybe even 9 months ago. And it's been 9 months that I've been trying to make like this friendship work. And I just saw that until I did something completely new and completely different 5 years from now, I would still be in this relationship with this person. What it looked like, like friends but not really friends, relationship but not really relationship. So it's really confronting, and I deleted everything. I got rid of everything that reminds me of her in a day. So that was like new. Somebody, I got coaching around that, and she's kind of a local celebrity, so it was really hard to do some of the things I had to do, but I had to, like, literally, it sounds stupid, but I had to unfollow her on everything.
Yeah.
I had to block her number. I had to call her record label and let them know that I could no longer work with them.
Wow.
And it's just been like, it's like a really surreal experience. So, but I knew when I was looking at this, because it was literally the homework, when I was looking into the future, I was like, this has been going on for 4 years,
Yeah.
Out of the 6 years, this has been going on for 4 years, and my next 5 years we're going to keep looking like me mad at her, me yelling at her, me screaming at her, and just not ever finding anyone because I'm stuck on her.
That's good.
I guess.
No, that's
Yeah.
it's Adam, thank you for sharing that, because that's exactly what it looks like, right? Like we do things, we like whining and complaining in the wilderness was not going to get you where you're trying to go, and then we do things that would have us not get to where we're trying to go, and then we expect somehow a different result than what we've had. And then he's been in this relationship, and I've been hearing him for the last 2 years talk about this relationship, right? And the reality of the situation is that it never shifted. It was just going in a cycle, and he had to discover for himself what was there. And when we look at how we're being, that in that area that we really want to transform, then something different's got to happen. It's got to shift. Unless, guess what? It's true. 5, 6 years down the line, he's still in this in-between relationship, hasn't found a partner because he's still holding on to that past relationship, can't have what he wants for his life, right? Isn't that what it would have looked like, Adam? I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. Hey, Isabel. Hey, hold on one second. I'm going to merge you with Silka, and then I think Silka had something that she wanted to share. Adam, thank you for that. I mean, I don't think there's anything I can coach you on here because it's just perfect. And Silka, give me 1 second. I'm going to have you go. it took something. I know what it means when you have to get off the social media and everything else because you can't see it come in. You can't see her stuff pop up and everything else. You took actions that were going to have you be able to move forward. I know it wasn't easy. And even though that may not look like love, that it is love, isn't it? It's what needed to be done, right?
I was going to end up hating her, man. I was going to end up hating her and resenting her forever. Like, I would just keep trying to fix her and make something wrong and
destroying it anyway.
and messing it up anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That's perfect. Perfect. Silka, what do you got?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Silka.
I was listening to Adam, and I just wanted to offer a different spin on the whole thing based on something that I recently was confronted with. I had a friend. I realized I had a friend. I lived my life needing to be right, and I had a difficult time giving up being right because when I look at the facts from my point of view, I am right, which is the whole reason why I came up with my opinion in the first place, because it's based on what I think. And I realized that the reason I stuck so much to being right is because I didn't really entertain my head knew about it, that there may be, okay, you have a different opinion. But then that's just your opinion because the truth is the way I see it. And I recently had, I had a friendship that had been for 20 years, and there was a situation where I did something, and my friend that I have had for 20 years judged me for what I was doing, and I just couldn't get over that a friend would do that. And I totally withdrew, and I took my love away from her. I took my friendship away. I was completely in the flesh based on our old conversation. And, my probable future for the next 5 years would be that, I would be right and my friendship with her pretty much would be done because I was so hurt that how would a friend do that in the moment when I needed her the most? She judged me. And it wasn't until I really stepped back and said, okay, here I am judging her for judging me. I'm like, something isn't right with that picture. And I really allowed myself to consider that there may be an alternate truth, not just my view. And so I took the courage after 3 years to really have that conversation and sit down and say, why did this go down the way it went down? And I discovered that that was her, somewhat clumsy way of trying to be supportive of me because she didn't want me to make a mistake. And it just landed at my side as judgment, and it literally took 45 minutes to have a conversation. We hugged, and now it's as nothing has happened, and, I have my friend back, and our future is open to be whatever it could be. So I guess the thing I want to share is just that I discovered that I live my life always evaluating and waiting for people to fail me. And then I look for that. And then when somebody does something that I don't like, or that, then it's just proof that people can't be trusted. And through this whole situation, I came to learn that it's not true. It's only because I am so righteous and I have to be right. And my future was going to be that I'm right and lonely because all my friends would not be around me, or it wouldn't be as intimate as I wish my relationships to be.
That is perfect, Silka. Just really perfect. And you get that. And that's exactly what it looked like. It would look like relationships that are broken, a constant in and out of relationships and cycling of your friendships, right? Where, you guys are friends and then something happens and you take your heart away and then, time passes by, and maybe if you're good friends, like over the 20 years, I bet you guys have gone through a cycle before, and now you've just taken on something completely new. I just want to acknowledge you for that, for really seeing what needed to be transformed in that area so that you could get to another level in your relationship, get off that hamster wheel in your relationship. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. because I realize I'm on this high horse thinking that, I know what's so, like, what's so is my truth. And that is a big mistake because what's so is just what's so. It's not necessarily my truth. So in Adam's case, it would have been easy for me to just delete it from everything and just have it go away and look for a new friend and go and do that cycle all over again. The reason where would I be in 5 years? I would just keep testing new people and see if they live up to my standard instead of being with whoever is already in my life and just really take a step back and say, like, okay, maybe you don't know everything.
Got it. Got it. Really got it. No, thank you, Silka, for that. Thank you for sharing what you shared, and I think everybody got it, and they really did. Your case is very clear, so thank you for being here, and thank you for your contribution. Isabel, we're kind of running behind. We kind of went over on our sharing. Isabel, how are you? You still there? Hey.
Hey guys, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. And Silka and Adam, thank you so much for sharing. That was amazing.
Great. Awesome. Did you want to share something yourself?
Yes, I did.
Come on.
So about the homework is, so the area that I talked about last week was about my weight. And so my probable future for the next 5 years, if I, so I guess if I don't work on that area, so first of all, it's being the same weight next 5 years and longer. The second thing is obviously my health. So I have been maybe lucky that I have not had any health complications, but I definitely at the age that I am, which I'm still very young, but I do feel that, I have tried to have a baby, and that's not working out, and I do think that maybe the issue of my weight has had quite a bit to do with that. But also, diabetes and high blood pressure and all of that is something that I know that it's obviously going to catch up on me if I don't make the proper changes. Another thing is I want to say that I usually, no matter my size, I learned a couple of years ago that, I am really powerful and I am beautiful. But, I feel really confident with myself. But every now and then, something, or maybe it's just like a strong suit or something, but every now and then I do feel like something happens where I then realize that physically I'm not as beautiful as, somebody that has a great body. And that sometimes that does catch up to me. And which I know that that's just external. There's some beautiful women that are just cold-hearted. And and also, energy for to be with my children and things like that is what I see myself definitely not achieving if I continue the same route.
And good, and so that's perfect, Isabel, because we kind of expect to do the same things and have a different result, right? It's like if you spend more than you make, but somehow you expect to be a millionaire in 5 years, it's not going to happen. We have that kind of thing. If you're putting on weight instead of losing weight, and or you're maintaining the same weight, you're doing the same things that had you gain the weight or not lose weight, and then we expect things to be different. So that's really perfect for this conversation, guys. And so you get, Isabel, if nothing changes, if nothing shifts from where we are right now, that's how life's going to look like 5 years down the line, right?
Yeah.
Good. And that's and you're committed to something else, aren't you?
Yes, I want it so bad. I just, even though, like I said, even though I feel, at most of the time confident, I just still feel like this has always been just bigger than me, and no matter what I do, no matter, I have a business, no matter what.
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you, honey. We're not going to give it power. All right? We know what's happened. We're not going to give it power. We're going to continue the conversation. We're going to get some power in this, okay? Are you with me?
I'm with you.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your contribution. And I get what you're doing, what you're going through. I get what that promised land is, and I want us to get there together. We're going to get there. All right?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. All right, so guys, we're going to continue the conversation. And one of the things that we discovered is that, for us to get off that hamster wheel of what we've been doing, we got to see what the way life goes for us. We got to see how our flesh reacts. Like, we got to see how the acts of the flesh. And in Galatians 5, Paul shares with us, and he says, these are obviously the acts of the flesh. This is how the flesh acts for us. And he named some of them. He said, and there are more. He said, but they're obvious. You know when your flesh is acting up. Like when you're eating something sweet, Isabel, or whatever, or whoever, or me personally, when I like right now, I decided recently that I'm going to share this with you guys so it becomes real, is that I'm actually gonna take my physical fitness to another level, right? And don't look at me like that, guys, but I do. I want to lose a little bit. I want to get to even a higher level of fitness, and so in doing that, I got to cut out sugar. And Domino's, right? So I got to cut out some of the things that I've been known to do, right? And so that's like my flesh literally calls out. It's like, you got to eat this, not Twinkie, but brownie. You got to have this brownie. This brownie is calling your name. So it's just one of the things that I got to deal with is gluttony. And so we named all the acts of the flesh, and I just want to get back to that. There were acts of the flesh that were written in Galatians 5, and we added to those that are obvious. When you take your heart away from someone and you're not loved, that's clearly an act of the flesh, right? The Bible says. So let's continue the conversation, guys, because we are continuing this conversation, and this conversation, we're actually in the fourth part of this entire series. This is the final portion. The flesh is against transformation. So people are asking all the time, why do I want to distinguish my flesh? What's the big deal? Why do I have to distinguish it at all? Why can't I just let my flesh run my life? Why can't I just let it just do what it's going to do? Well, one of the biggest reasons that the flesh doesn't want you to transform. It doesn't want your life to be any different than it's ever been. It's used to the status quo. It's going to have you live like life just like that. It's going to have you living in sin, living in a life that God never called you to live, living below your potential, living in a place where you don't get to be there for people the way the gift that you're supposed to be for humanity. You'll never be that. It wants you to stay comfortably wherever you are. It doesn't want you to be transformed. That's why we've got to distinguish the flesh, because if we stay right here, that's not what God's called us to. Now, every single one of us in this room, I guarantee it, has said to ourselves, there's more to this life than what I'm living right now. God put that in us. It's our biological, it's like our spiritual, biological, if you will, clock, alarm clock, that calls for something more for our lives than what we've been living. That's just the way it is. So if you've been saying there's more to this life than what I've been living, I want more than this, I promise you that you're going to have to distinguish the flesh if you're going to get to your promised land. You can't live in the flesh and get to your promised land because the flesh doesn't want you to get there. It doesn't want you to expand out. It doesn't want you to be more. So we're in this next part of it, and we had part 1 and part 2, and part 1 was really just figuring out what transformation was, and part 2 was realizing that transformation is when we got to disappear something so we can create something new. See, because transformation is not change, right? The Bible actually talks about transformation. Jesus talks about transformation. But right here in Romans, this is where Paul's talking about. He says, do not conform to the pattern of this world. Don't conform to just keep on doing the same thing that the world's doing, that same pattern, that same way of being. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind, then you will be able to test and prove what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will, because it's going to show up in your life. So what's transformation? We just talked about the 40 years in the desert. We just talked about that. So let's talk about what transformation. Transformation. Let me just distinguish transformation for you, because sometimes they're used interchangeably. Change and transformation. Change is not transformation. Change tries to fix the past. Transformation disappears the past. How do I know this? Jesus says you can't put new wine in old wineskins. Jesus said you got to be born again. Paul says that you got to take off the old self and put on a new self. That's not change. That's transformation. When we do away with the past and we take on a new, that's what he says. When Paul says, hey, I haven't figured it out yet, but this I do, I forget the former things, and I strive toward what's ahead of me. That's transformation. And to live a transformed life means to disappear your past and to live and create a new future. And guys, we've been trying to change things, and it doesn't work. We disappear our past, and then we create a new future. So I've been talking about word in existence. What does that mean? So look, in the Bible it talks about, and I should have put the slide here, and the Bible talks about how we create a new future, how God transforms. And we look and we see God's creation in the beginning of the Bible, and it says the Bible says that in Genesis that the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the deep, and then God said. And when he spoke his words, then boom, all of a sudden there was existence. That's how it worked. Right? And we see that in the Bible. We go into the book of John, and he says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and nothing that was made without him. See, because everything is going to be formed, everything that you want to create in this world is going to come out of the Word. It's going to come from Spirit and Word. It's got to come from Spirit and Word. Unless it doesn't come, it's not real. Everything else there's nothing else. And so we got to always get back to the Spirit. That's why we got to get away from the flesh. And then we need our Word. We got to put the Word forward. The most powerful word you can put forward is the Word of God. You put your word into it too. We put our word into it. We do that every day, right? But when you put the Word of God into that just becomes a million times more powerful. So anyway, I'm going to continue this conversation because right now we're talking about transformation. Now look, this works for everybody. This is just the way it all works. It all goes together. See, the Bible says that God causes rain and sunshine to fall both on the good and the evil, the sinner and the whatever, everybody. Everybody. This is how life works. It works for everybody the same way. These are laws, these are principles, and that's what we're reading right now in the Bible. This is how it works. The Bible says, keep this book of the law always on your lips. This is the book of Joshua. So now look, we just talked about the children of Israel. They came out of Egypt, still had the slave mentality, right? That's what really happened. They didn't do away with it. They didn't disappear their past. And now they're in the wilderness, and they don't have a mentality that's going to be able to take them into the promised land. That's what happened. And so Moses and all that line of people had to die. They all died, and they never made it to the promised land. We all have our promised lands. And then the new generation, Joshua and all the rest of the children of Israel, they were the ones who found the promised land. But this is what God says to Joshua, who takes over for Moses, who is the leader of the children of Israel, who are now going to get to the promised land. And this is what he says in Joshua 1:8. He says, keep this book of the law. Now, this is after they've been in the wilderness for 40 years trying to find the promised land, okay? They've already been there for 40 years. They've all been looking for their promised land. They haven't found it yet. Moses dies. All the old guard die, and now it's Joshua who's going to lead the way, and God says, you're going to lead the way. Now it's time for transformation. It's time for something new. And he said, this is how we're going to create. He says, keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Listen, you know what I've learned? God has been so clear with me. Every promise that he made to every person in that book is for me too. I'm going to say this a different way that you never heard before, maybe. That success is not personal. It's not personal. See, if you do certain things, you're going to get a certain result. The Bible says that he makes the rain fall and the sun shine on both the just and the unjust. When you get that there are certain principles of success that are written in that book, then you'll get it. There are actions to be taken. And at the same time, there are special gifts that he gives onto his people. Get that. But it all comes for all of us. Get that. So to keep the book of the law always on your lips, that's number one. Constantly keep the book of the law on your lips. Keep the word on your lips. Keep sharing. Keep it going on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. Always be thinking about it. Always have it right there present with you. Do everything written in it. Take action. Then you will be prosperous and successful. I don't know if you guys got this, but man, when I read this for the 12,000th time, I got revelation. I got what was being said here in this book, because right after that, Joshua goes out, and here's how it looks. So these are the essentials of transformation, because this was the transformation of an entire people. An entire people got transformed, and the lifestyle and the way that they were living, their entire lives got transformed because they were receiving manna from heaven, and they had to get a miracle every day just to survive. How many people need a miracle every day just to survive? I know people who go paycheck to paycheck every single week just to survive. And then there's your promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey where you don't have to worry about that. It looks completely different. It's a different life. That's transformation. That's transformation. So let's talk about what this looks like. The essentials of transformation according to Joshua 1:8. Number one, constantly have the word on your lips. Constantly be sharing it with others. Constantly. Have the word on your lips. You know, it's so funny because, you know, when I read that for the first time, and I was a long time ago, you know. I've been a Christian for a long time. When I read that the first time, I just sit in my house by myself and be, you know, speaking the word to myself. And that's cool, and that's okay. But that's not what that meant there, because if you read the Bible and you keep on going down in that very same chapter, you see how Joshua goes out and he begins to share with the leaders in the other houses. He begins to share with them. He's like, this is what we're out to cause. We're going to go into the land. And then they agreed with him, and then they went with him, the ones that went. Right? Constantly share it. Have it on your lips. Be sharing the word. 2, meditate on the word. That means, constantly have it in your mind, thinking about it. Have it be present with you. 3, take action on the word. Guys, this is how we keep it in existence. So listen, transformation has 2 parts. It comes with disappearing what was already there that you didn't want, that doesn't work, and then creating something new, putting the new wine in new wineskins. So here's what I want you to get. This is what I got for myself that gave me power in me being able to create the things that I want for myself in my life. For me to be able to create, I got to be that way. There are 3 things I got to do. 1, I got to constantly share the word with others. What's the word that God gave me? Now look, guys, it could be the Logos word, which is from this book that I'm holding up right now. And it could be the Rhema word. God can give it to you fresh. Put it in your spirit and say, this is who I want you to be. This is what I want for you. He did that with Abraham. And with Abraham, this is not Abraham, but imagine that this is Abraham, right? And that he looked like this, right? And God goes to this man who's 90 years old, who's 100 years old, and he says, guess what? And he doesn't have any kids. And he says, I'm going to make you the father of many nations. That's what he did. That's what God said. He gave him the rhema. It's like God goes to you and say, hey, you're going to start a multinational company. It's going to be big. It's going to be a billion-dollar company, and you're going to give hundreds of millions of dollars to the poor. And God gives you that word, just like him. It doesn't matter where you started from. There could be no one poorer in being able to manifest that promise than Abraham. He was an old man with an old wife. She was beyond barren. There was no way that she was going to put out anything, right? I mean, dust. She was coughing dust at that time. That's 100 years old. She stopped being able to bear kids like 60 years ago, before, or 50 years for her, And God says, I'm going to have you be the father of many nations. Now, look, here's what happens after that. This is where we get it. 1, 2, 3. All right, we just talked about it. You got to share constantly. You got to meditate constantly, and you got to take action. Right? We just talked about that. That's right there in Joshua 1:8. Let me show you how God did this with Abraham. See, because this is God's way of doing. This is God's way of doing things. It's not just for me. It's not just for you. It's not just for one person. We can see it manifest in the Bible over and over and over and over again. This is why I'm showing you what he did with Joshua to get them to the promised land is the same thing that he did with Abraham to get him to the promised land, is the same thing that he can do with you to get you to your promised land. What did he do? See, God built it in. He said, you know what? Now your name is no longer Abram. I'm changing your name. Your name's no longer Abram. Your name is Abraham. And what Abraham means is the father of many nations. See, he did the same thing with Sarah. He changed her name from Sarai to Sarah. And by doing that, he called her, that name means princess. So guess what? He was now the father of many nations. That means that every time that Abraham talked to somebody, he said, hey, how you doing? How you doing? I'm the father of many nations. They're like, ooh, that's great. How many kids you got? None yet. But you're 100 years old. You get that? Every time he spoke to somebody, that was the word that he was giving. He was sharing the vision every opportunity he got. It was on his lips constantly. Every time someone talked to him, every time, he wasn't even going to answer to Abram anymore. You're not going to even look at me. I'm not answering you. Abram. Somebody call me Abram. I'm busy. No, I'm not listening to you. I'm Abraham. Didn't I tell you? I'm the father of many nations. And it was constantly on his lips who he was. That's God's way. And he thought of it and thought of ways of how we know that he was meditating on it because he was thinking of ways that he could do it. And his wife was too. She tried to give him the maidservant. That wasn't the way to go. And clearly he was taking action on it. He did have a child by natural means, right? So that means that he was getting busy with his wife, which is completely the way that he should do it. When you're 100 years old, I don't know how that works, but he was taking action wherever he could. And in fact, he took some actions that weren't in line with what God would have him to do. Right? Because he was just trying to make it happen. So, 3 things we see manifest here in one of the biggest miracles of the Bible that translate into the blessings that we all have. Is 1, he shared it. God had changed his name so that he could be called Abraham, the father of many nations, the father of nations. 2, he was a meditate, constantly having it on his mind, constantly thinking about it. And 3, he was taking action on it. Guys, this is what happens. Listen, there is no tomorrow and there's no yesterday. There is only right now. Here's what I want you to get. I want you to get that we've got to keep the word in existence. Hey, guess what? The gospel of Jesus Christ. How do you think that went? I mean, God is powerful enough to just bless everybody and no one have to do anything, but they had to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Constantly on their lips, constantly taking action, constantly with them, constantly meditate. All of this came out of the same, listen, it's all going to be the same. You want to manifest, you want to transform, you want to create, you got to do these three things. You got to share like nobody's business. You got to meditate, and you got to take action. And then I will make your way successful. I will give you success and make your way prosperous. Man, I don't know about you guys. I got this like this is completely mind-blowing for me, this conversation. This is a life-changing conversation. So today, guys, we're actually talking about sharing. And here's what I want you to get. I want you to get that, and I put this in here somewhere. I don't know where it is. Okay, I don't know where it is. Anyway, what I want you to get is, guys, when you have a resistance, a reticence to sharing what's important to you, what's going on in your life with others, whatever you're trying to create, guess what? It's no longer God, because that's God's way. So if you think that God's given you something and put it on your heart and you don't want to share it with others, that's the flesh. Oh, yes, I'm telling you something. It's just another manifestation of the flesh. It's holding you back. You're like, I don't know why I don't want to share that. It's the same reason why Abraham didn't want to share, maybe had that resistance to sharing too. Like, oh, they're going to laugh at me. They're not going to follow. They're not going to see the vision like I see it. God's given you a vision for, a health and wellness center, for instance. And it's like, who's going to listen to me say that? I'm a doctor. I'm doing my thing as a doctor. What do I know about entrepreneurship, right? Somebody else has a vision for a language school, global language school. It's like, well, I got a pretty cush job, and what do I know about a global, and I got to learn more languages. You speak enough. I got to learn more languages. It's like we all have that vision that's inside of us, and we're scared to share it. Look for that, because that's not God. He's the one that gave you the vision. It's the flesh. So when you're resistant to that, when you all of a sudden you can't share your life, you can't share what you're creating, what God's giving you to create in the world, then know that it's your flesh that's holding you back. And then what do? Now that you know that it's the flesh, now that you've distinguished that it's the flesh, what comes next, guys? You share it anyway. Then you push past and you share it anyway. That's what we do. When we know that we're not being loved, and all of a sudden that moment comes and your friend is yelling at you, and you see it, and your natural inclination is to yell back, and then you say, oh, that's the flesh. I'm offended. It's the flesh. Then we be love anyway. This is no different. You see the resistance to sharing yourself, what you're creating in the world, with others, and then what happens? It's just that. You just do it anyway. You do it anyway. It's like Jesus, man. You think Jesus didn't have the same issues we had? Jesus had the same issues we had. He's in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he says to God, listen, get this, guys. He was clothed in flesh. He had to go through the same things we had to go through. He went through everything the same way we did, and he's sitting there, knows that he's got to die on the cross. It's his time. He always knew it was time that he would have to do it. And then he's sitting there. He's sitting there in the Garden of Gethsemane. He says to God, if you can take this cup from me, take it from me, please. I don't want to have to do this. And then he says, not your will, but not my will, but your will be done. And he does it anyway. And he goes to the cross anyway. And that's what we have to do. We got to distinguish our flesh from who we really are. And who we are as children of God, with visions born within us that want to be birthed out into the world. And so the question I have for you guys right now is, where are you having difficulty having a breakthrough in your life, and where can you share more? So I'm going to open the floor right now. Where are you having difficulty having a breakthrough in life? I guarantee you it's either action or sharing that prevents you from being able to do that. So I'm going to open up the floor.
Hello, everybody. This is Elio. So where I'm having a difficulty having a breakthrough in my life, it is time management. And there's a lot, like a lot in my plate. And I just got this new position where I'm just gonna get like 10 times more things in my plate. And really, my flesh is telling me I'm scared. I'm gonna miss my being comfortable, being on a job 9 to 5 and not being responsible for anything. I'm scared about having responsibilities of the new job. I'm scared of my sleeping. I want to be on my bed sleeping. So I really want to do that. But my internal being, my internal myself, wants to follow that path. And it's like, I really believe that is the way to go. That's the way that I gotta follow. And that's gonna have me have and learn everything I need to learn to what, God have put me in my story, what I'm supposed to do in life. So I'm scared and I'm happy. So I don't know if I should cry or smile. But, I'm having a difficulty there.
Okay. So I get it. And, it's kind of good to get it out there, right? Feels a little bit better. And you're still going to do it anyway because that's who you are. You know what separates great people from big people from, ordinary, extraordinary people from ordinary is those who just simply take action anyway. We feel the same things. We feel the same fear of rejection, everything else that comes with it, and we just do it anyway.
It's like that thing. It's like that saying that goes, bravery is not having any fears. It's just having a lot of fears and facing them anyway.
So one of the things, guys, in the area of of breakthrough, I want to talk to you about. I don't know if anybody else wanted to share, but I'm going to share from what we're going through and what we're dealing with in the area of sharing. One of the things that we want to do when we started GGI in March or April, and it was just a couple of us, right, Lori? It was just a few of us. It was like 3 or 4 of us in GGI, and we were fine with that. And now, and then, we all of a sudden we made the next jump because, guys, life doesn't really generally happen like in a steady path like this. It's like there's just big incremental growths and then a plateau and then big growth again and then a plateau again. You were still working hard, but that's just how it works generally when you get progress, and so anyway, we have like 20-something members or something, 23 or 24 members, and I remember when Adam James, Elio, and I, we said, you know what, it's time to move to another level. That wasn't too long ago. That must have been 4 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Yeah, 4 months ago. And we said, we got to go to the next level. And then we took on sharing what we were out to cause. We put a number on it. We said, we're going to 100. And then all of a sudden, we said, what actions are going to get us to 100? And then we just started sharing. We got to share. And we got to put goals on it. We got to give our word to it. And then we gave our word to it. And the word was, okay, I'm going to get X amount. And you're going to, okay, how many you going to, okay, I'm going to get X amount. Okay. And then there was all of a sudden somebody who was holding somebody accountable. And then all of a sudden we were just sharing it. Yeah, we're out to make GGI bigger. We're going to grow it. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to take God's great idea to the next level. And next thing we know, we were sharing out there with people, and then people were sharing with other people, and then all of a sudden we were at 100 before we knew it. It was like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then after that, where do we go from here? And that was a question. The question is, where do we go from there? And then all of a sudden, now we're in another growth spurt. We finally got the app working because we maxed out at 100. We couldn't have more than 100 people on WhatsApp. And then but we gave ourselves to the sharing of it. And guys, now I'm sharing again. And watch what happens. There's sharing and there's going to be action. That's what we're going to talk about next. But watch what happens now. Right now, we got the new app, and then we had issues with the app for the last 2 months. For 2 months, we've had issues with the app trying to get it to go. I'm not going to give power to that, but we got past it. Right? And we got an app that finally does work, and the app can bring in 100,000 people if we want to bring in 100,000 people. And so now we're at 150 people that are currently members of GGI, and a lot of those people are just everyday sharing. I'm not just talking about empty people who are there, but people who are actually a part of our community, who are giving and contributing and being there every single day. And guess where we're going now? Well, where am I? Where are we going? We're going to 1,000. We're going to 1,000. Where else would we go but to 1,000? And see, listen, here's the same thing. And listen, you want to create anything, it's got to come, number one, it's got to come out of nothing. The Bible, that's what the Bible says in the book of Ephesians. Out of nothing God created. We got to create out of nothing. That's number one. So great, we got to 100. That was nice. But now where are we going? We're going to 1,000. So we're creating it with our word right now. GGI leadership, we've already created that we're going to bring in 1,000 people, that 1,000 people are going to be a part of our organization. And then we're going to take it even farther. But right now, the word is 1,000, and we're giving and sharing ourselves and giving ourselves to have 1,000 people get the blessing of creating their lives every single day with us on God's great idea. And having the word be present for them, and having their lives explode, and having transformation be present for them every single day. 1,000 people on GGI. By the way, by the end of this year, in December. So guess what? We got 2 months, literally 60 days, and we're going to go to 1,000. Hey, by the way, my name is Father of Many Nations. We're going to 1,000. How's that going to happen? Sharing. It's going to be sharing and actions. Those are the two ways we keep our word in existence. If we're not constantly sharing and we're not constantly in action, we're not creating anything. It doesn't exist anywhere. The kingdom of heaven is now. You guys saw the video. I posted a video yesterday. The kingdom of heaven is now. It is now again, and it is now again. When am I born again? I wasn't born again 20 years ago. No, I'm born again every day, every moment. I'm born again. Born again. It's always new. It's always now. It's always new. It's always fresh. His word is fresh and it's new for me every day. The Spirit is now. It's now, guys. So look, as we create, guys, here's what I want us to be really, and look, this is not a concept. If you don't have it in existence now, if you don't have it in existence, if you're not sharing it, if you're not taking action on it, and if you're not meditating on it, it is nowhere in existence. And then we wonder why life doesn't work and we don't create what we want to. It's not in existence. We got to keep it there, guys, all of us. We got to keep it alive in our sharing. We got to keep it alive in our meditation. We got to keep it alive in our actions until it's fully manifest. So who's willing? Who's going to take on? And here's what, because I got homework for you, and I want you. There are two different goals that we're going to be working on in our homework. Okay, we got two goals here. We got number one, for you to have a breakthrough, something in your personal life, all right? So first of all, we're going to jot down an area of our life where you've been. So you're going to take on actually two homework assignments, okay? The first one is jot down an area of your life where you've been stopped or want a breakthrough. I guarantee you that sharing or action is missing. I guarantee it. So what I want you to do in two is that I want you to keep your word about that area in existence. I want you to do it by sharing with others what you're creating in that area. Now look, Joshua didn't just share with random people, by the way. He shared with people who could make a difference. He shared with the leaders of the other houses. And then they were like, yeah, I'm on board. Let's do this. Share it with everybody. But definitely share it, have it shared with people that can make a difference, right? Like if I'm sharing, if I got the word on my lips in my house by myself, that's more like a meditation than it is like a sharing. I'm going to keep it on my lips before people where it counts. And I want you guys to do the same thing. So number one, jot down an area of life that we're going to focus on this week to have a breakthrough in that area. Everybody with me? Number two, now you have two parts of this homework assignment. Number one, you're going to keep your word about that area in existence by sharing with others what you are creating in that area. Okay? And then number two, the second part, B, is I want you to, this is the second part of the creation, I want you to share GGI with others and what we are causing in the world. So you're actually at two different areas that you're going to be creating in this week. You get that? So first of all, who's on board with me? I want to know that my word is in line with your word, right? Who's on board with that? We're going to 1,000 by the end of December. Yes. Thank you. Everybody in this room, almost. You got a finger up. I'll take the finger. All right? That we're all on board that we're going to go to 1,000 in GGI by the end of December. There's no doubt in my mind if we keep sharing it and if we stay in action about it, that it's going to come to pass. Who's going to take that journey and be in that level of creation with us the way that we did? We knew when we did that anything was possible. We did that in a week and a half. What can we do when we come together, all of us? Anything's possible. Let's share in that area, and let's take action in that area. And guys, come ready to share next week about the miracles that you're going to create this week. Whatever you're out to cause, I want that thing to be moved forward, and it's going to be moved forward in your sharing. So I want you to go out there, and I want you to share, share, share. I want you to keep it on your lips, like the Bible says. Do not let it depart from your lips. That's what I want. I want you to be sharing in the area that's important to you. And then, guys, lastly, come ready to share next week. Now, in the area of sharing DGI, we created a special web page. It's a special page. We have godsgreatidea.com and godsgreatidea.org, but we have 21daysofpower.org. And how this is going to work, guys, is that you're basically going to challenge your friends to declare for 21 days a life of power with you. Say, hey, look, let's do this together. We're going to declare who we are in the world for 21 days and see what happens. That's my challenge. See if life doesn't shift for you. 21daysofpower.org. On there I've got a video. It'll explain everything, and it'll have them sign up for the app or for the website. Okay? That's it. 21daysofpower.org. Okay? Really simple. Guys, in the next conversation that we have, that conversation is going to complete the conversation that we're having, Flesh is Against Transformation. Now, this entire series has been called Spirit versus Flesh. Okay? The Bible says that the flesh is at enmity against God. All these things are God. God is for transformation. God is transformation. Jesus is the biggest proponent of transformation in history. And so right now we're going to close this thing out by talking about, we're going to go into part 4, which is how do we get to transform our lives? Transformation. So we just talked about sharing. We're going to share all this week. I don't want anyone to think about anything else but sharing what they want to create in their lives. Just share, 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 share. That's what I want. And next week we're going to complete it with action. We're going to talk about in part 4 about action and how that's going to complete the ring, the entire formula for transformation in our next session. Guys, I love you very much. I will see you guys in the next session. And thank you for being a part of this conversation. It was absolutely amazing. I'll see you next time in another conversation with God's Great Idea. Ready to set it?